guys, welcome to another episode of Pitch It. I'm Jordan Ross.
And I'm Michael Moss.
And today we're here in Michael's closet.
Studio.
Closet studio.
Recording studio.
And we're going to pitch Justice League Dark.
Yes!
I'm just going to go ahead and say it. This is our second time to pitch this.
Why did you do that?
All the footage from the first time.
It's okay.
So we're redoing it, but we're going to act surprised when we hear each other's pitches. You can go first and pitch your cast if you want.
Colin Farrell as John Constantine. For Zatanna, I would definitely do a younger, like, Mask of Zorro, Catherine Zeta-Jones. You know what I mean? Ron Perlman would definitely be Swamp Thing. I almost forgot. And then for Etrigan, I would have the guy, I can't remember his name, something Lang.
Stephen Lang.
Stephen Lang? To play Etrigan. And then his Jason Blood, his human counterpart, I would have be played by Michael Cera.
Yeah.
Or, like, on a serious note, it could be, like, Benedict Cumberbatch.
So we're on the same page with Colin Farrell, Ron Perlman, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt. We have the same three casting choices for those, which is good. But the difference is, in my casting choices, I have Alexandra Daddario as Zatanna, Guy Pearce as the Phantom Stranger, Frida Pinto as Raven, Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Nick Necro, and Oded Fair as Felix Faust. Do you want to get into our plots?
Yeah, do your plot first.
So the film opens up with Constantine performing an exorcism and fighting a demon, not just like spiritually, like physically,
like
fighting
literally
a demon,
fighting,
like getting him in a headlock and stuff. And meanwhile they're both like, you know, saying these like enchantments and like, you know, these prayers to, you know, ward off a demon and stuff like that. Like, so it's like a spiritual and physical battle. So it's like this really cool action sequence.
So it's like a fist fight and a spell fight.
Yeah, basically. And he ends up, like, he gets all beat up, and then he ends up defeating this demon, though, and casting him back to hell. And it cuts to him sitting in the Oblivion Bar, which is a watering hole for occultists and magicians in the DC universe. And this is when he first sees Zatanna, and she's up on stage performing her magic act, which she's a real-life magician as well as a actual stage magician. And so she's up there doing her magic act, and he's like mesmerized by her because she's doing things that, you know,
and she's really
amazing
hot.
Things.
And plus magic.
Exactly. So he's you know, he's watching her and like impressed by her magic. He's never seen anyone that good. And after the show, he sees her walking out with a man in a trench coat. And as he's watching them, he sees another guy stand up with a dagger, and he's about to stab Nick Necro, which is the man she's with. So Constantine grabs his beer mug and throws it at the guy, and like goes over and like knocks him out, and he ends up saving Nick Necro's life. So that's how he gets introduced to him, and he's like, well, why don't you come with us? So he hangs out with Nick and Zatanna and starts to get to know them. And Nick Necro is this really powerful magician, and he's like the most powerful mage in New York, and he takes John Constantine under his wing. So Zatanna and Constantine are kind of like his pupils, and he's their mentor. So as he's teaching them, he becomes obsessed with finding the books of magic, which whenever you possess all of these books, it's said that you could basically control the world. Do anything.
It's like the Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah, basically. And it's like it's said that these books, one combiner, it's like the source of all magic. All magic came from these books, you know, reportedly. That's he becomes more and more obsessed with finding these books. And as he becomes more obsessed, he grows away from Constantine and Zatanna and like just is focused solely on the books. So they grow closer together because they're kind of like left alone, and he's kind of neglecting them, sort of. So they grow closer together. Eventually they have feelings for each other. They kiss, and Nick Necro catches them in the act, basically. So that makes him even more bitter.
Got him.
And he's like, you know what, we're done. He leaves. And that's when he decides that he doesn't have anything tying him down. Before, he's still kind of, you know, was like with Zatanna, sort of. Yeah. But after that, he's like, you know what, there's nothing holding me back. It's over. I'm really going for it. Yeah. So he gets a hold of the Cult of the Cold Flame and teams up with them. And they want Zatanna because their father is one of the most powerful sorcerers in the world. Zatara. And so they want her, and because he's one of their sworn enemies, enemies. Yeah, he's one of their sworn enemies. So they want her, and Nick Necro wants Constantine for taking his girl, basically. So Nick calls John one night and is like in a panic and is saying the cult of the Cold Flame found me. I need you to get here now. So, and Constantine and Zatanna are together. You know, they're probably like sleeping in bed together. So they're like, yeah, right? There's like this really hardcore.
Oh.
No, not really. But anyway, so they wake up and they're like, okay, well, you know, he's still our mentor.
Dirty.
Yeah, he is.
Probably has cooties.
He probably does. More than cooties. Anyway, so they're like, well, let's go help him. You know, he was still our mentor. So they go there, they show up at his house, and once they get there, they realize that it was all a trap. And there's like this big drawing on the ground. It's a satanic symbol where
an arcane circle.
Yeah, so
if you will.
If you're killed inside of it, you are sent straight to hell. So they grab Constantine. Nick Necro grabs him and has a knife to his throat. Meanwhile, the cult members grab Zatanna. And they end up being able to fight back, though, and it's like this big battle inside his house. And at one point, one of the cult members throws a dagger at Constantine, but Zatanna warns him, so he's able to grab Nick and put him in front of the dagger, so he gets stabbed while he's standing in the circle, and it kills him.
Meat shield, yeah.
Yeah, so he is sent to hell.
Dirty play.
Exactly, and he's sent to hell. Once he's there, though, he is brought back by Felix Faust, or Faust, however you pronounce it. Yeah. Well, that's Gregory Lush. But he's brought back by this
one of our acting teachers.
Yeah. And Felix is this like ancient sorcerer that's extremely powerful as well, and he kind of has the same agenda as Nick. So he brings him back from hell, and together they start going out and taking all these magical beings and magical people, and they use them to power this weapon, and that will help them track down all of the books of magic. So basically they draw from all these magical people, they draw from their powers to power this weapon. So as they're doing that, Constantine and Zatanna catch wind of it, and they're like, well, you know, this is no good. Yeah, and they kind of feel responsible almost, you know, for causing this. So they're like, well, you know what, we got to stop him, and they know they can't do it alone. So both of them kind of have their connections. They've been in this world for a long time. Yeah. So, you know, through their connections, they track down Deadman and Swamp Thing and Phantom Stranger and Raven, and team up with all of them. Raven, by the way, is half demon, half human. That's a really cool character. So she kind of struggles with that morality thing throughout the whole movie, because she, you know, has the evil side and the good side. So that'd be a cool character to have in there.
I like that duality in a character.
Yeah, exactly. So they go down and track all of them down, and then they go out to take on Nick Necro and Felix Faust. Fa. You have to blow it away. Anyway, so that's my pitch. I haven't worked out all the details. I don't know what the final battle is going to be. Okay. It's not going to be in the middle of a city with a beam shooting up, or an aerial battle or anything like that. It's going to be something like
with a beam shooting up.
Yeah, no, like Suicide Squad or something.
Like I want it to every be more, sci-fi adventure movie ever.
I want it to be more isolated, where the stakes aren't as, I mean, because like they're still trying to take over the world, but it's not like an apocalyptic
But it's sort of
thing.
like the first Batman, where it's not gonna end the entire world.
Yeah, it's like and maybe they haven't tracked down all the books, but they have a couple, so they can still do a lot of damage. But I want it to be somewhere that's more isolated, where there's not like all this collateral damage, but it's more of like a personal battle. Which I think would be really cool. So so that's my pitch.
My pitch.
Yep.
It's really elaborate and convoluted.
Pitches be crazy.
So
that should have been the name of the show.
Basically, Batman plays Nick Fury in mine, and Batman and Superman are chasing this random person that we have no explanation about. You have no idea. You can move it. Things. You're allowed to get.
We can stop.
Stop. Pause. Okay. So basically, Batman and Superman are chasing this random guy who is obviously important somehow, but it's not explained to us, but they're chasing him, all right? So Superman's flying around, scanning buildings and stuff with his vision, and Batman is, like, hacking the mainframe, trying to figure out, like, where this guy is, right? Doing detective stuff, right?
Yeah.
So Batman finally corners this guy, and then Superman busts in through a wall and, like, grabs this guy. And before he can get to him, this guy, like, mutters something under his breath, just sort of whispers something, and Superman just, like, drops down, like, stone cold, just like a ton of bricks, right? And Batman just, like, lets him go. Like, the guy turns around to Batman, and Batman is, like, freaking out because he's never seen, like, in the DC universe, we haven't seen Superman be handled in that way. Like, even when he was spraying him with gas, he wasn't sure that how it was going to work because it's never been done before. So Batman's never seen Superman be manhandled like this, right? So the guy's like, blah, 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 his little ninjutsu spell, and then he turns into a shadow clone, and then that's the way Naruto Shippuden ends. So he says his little spell, and Superman falls down, and Batman's flipping out, and he's like, this has to be magic, like, I have no idea what's going on. So he takes him to Wonder Woman, and he's like, we need to get to the bottom of this. And Wonder Woman is like, I don't know of anyone that has such powerful magic, like, I don't. I know of, like, a couple people, but they're really bad people. And he's like, okay, well, just tell me anything you know about magic, right? So she's like, okay, well, I know this chick, right, because she's sort of, Wonder Woman's not really a magical character, but she's not really a super powered character, right? Because the Greek gods are sort of along the line of deities, but they're also superheroes, right? So they're not 100% metahuman, but they're not 100% mystical, magical, right? It's sort of like Thor.
Yeah, I was about to say that, yeah.
So Wonder Woman takes Batman to this, like, weird fancy gala where it's, like, super duper, like, tuxedos and everything fancy, and there is Zatanna doing a magic show, and she's doing, like, a couple tricks, and Batman's, like, there clapping or whatever. Bruce Wayne, he's not in he's not in the cowl just standing there just in the middle of the crowd. He's Bruce Wayne, okay. So he's attending this gala, and Zatanna's doing her thing, and her father is with her, so there's not some sort of, like, weird thing. It's just they're doing it together. And then they make a person disappear. They do this thing where they say their mystical thing, you know, their mystical spell by speaking backwards or whatever, and a person disappears. And everyone else is like, oh, that's crazy, because it's, like, right before your eyes. There's not, like, a curtain or anything. It's, like, literally, like, a person's there and then they're not. And Batman, he's, like, the world's greatest detective, so he knows, like, even if it's sleight of hand, even a good magician, he knows sort of, like, they did this, or there's a trapdoor, like, he knows all the little tricks of the trade. But Batman is, like, flipping out. Like, he's clapping and everything, but on the inside, he's like, that was magic. Yeah. That was real, because there's no way that could have happened.
Yeah.
So, he goes backstage, and he's talking to him, and she's like, I don't want to have anything to do with this or whatever. And then, I forgot. Before I screwed it up. Okay, so before the gala, Batman ends up going to talk to Constantine first, and then Wonder Woman. And they bring Constantine in, and Wonder Woman knows all about Constantine. And she's like, why do you want to have him around? He's a terrible person, like, blah, 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 blah. And Constantine's like, what is? If you don't need me, then I'll just leave.
Yeah.
So Wonder Woman is like, you know, there's bad stuff, don't do this. So then Batman's like, well, I have to. So then he takes Constantine to the gala. He's sitting there watching the thing. He's backstage with Zatanna and Zatara. And then she's like, I can't do this. And then Constantine walks out, and he's like, you know, what is she doing here? Like, Batman didn't really tell Constantine what is going on. They don't know that each other are going to be meeting each other, but that sort of furthers them to want to, it kind of intrigues them, because it indicates that they have some sort of, like, weird, you know, past, and so you want to stick with this and see where this is going.
Yeah.
So now they're on, like, this flight, and they're going to some random place, and
an invisible jet just floating.
Yeah. They're just awkwardly flying through the sky, just sitting next to each other. Yeah. And someone's in the bathroom just trying to poop on the invisible jet. So they're on this jet, and they're going to some random location that you don't know about. It's like way in the Amazon or whatever. And Constantine is like really, really pissed off that Batman basically swindled him into this, and Zatanna's going to be there. And Zatanna's the same way, but Batman shares with Zatanna what's going on, and not Constantine. Like, not Constantine. So she's like, well, I hope this works. Like, this is, I mean, there's only like rumors or whatever. Like, I don't know why we're going here. And Constantine's like, I probably could be helpful if you guys would tell me something. And Batman's like, shut up, I hate you, and whatever. So they're walking around with the like indigenous people that like live in like this untouched region of the Amazon, right? And so they're like talking like with their local shaman, and he leads them down this path. And like he knows Constantine, he knows Zatanna, like they know like these tribal shaman people, and so they lead him down this path, and they lead him to this like huge like ancient temple, and they go inside the temple, which brings us to Swamp Thing, and they're like, okay, here's the deal: something took out Superman, and if something is as powerful a magic to like take out Superman like that, then the Earth is in danger, and that means that means the Green is what they refer to it as in the comics. And he's like, humans are always trying to do this. They're always trying to make things bigger than they already are. I don't want to have anything to do with you. You guys always hurt more than you help. And I always have to clean up after your mess. So no, absolutely not. I'm not going to do it. And they totally fail. And he like chases them away with like his plant grabber things, right? And they're like, so they leave. And they're like, okay, that was a total failure. So then in mid-flight back to the Batcave or wherever they're going, they all of a sudden are like just in this other dimension. The plane is like hovering there, and they're at Dr. Fate's tower thing. Do you remember what that was called? I don't remember what it was called.
I can't remember now. In
the little pocket dimension, right? And so they hear this voice like, whatever you're doing, like, stop it now. I see and have seen what you've been doing. And they're like, okay, well, we just want to talk, like, what's going on? So they're in the tower in this pocket dimension with Dr. Fate, and Dr. Fate is like, look, I don't know why you're gathering these like supernatural people together, but it's whatever it is, you just need to be careful, because this type of magic is all together in one place. It can be like really volatile, right?
Yeah.
So he's like, as much as I can help you, I will help you, but I'm not going to go out of my way to throw myself under the bus for you guys going on your like crazy mission, right? So like, okay, whatever. So then at this point, like, Batman is out. He's done. Like, Dr. Fate, like, Batman.
Like, y'all got this.
Yeah, like, Batman respects Dr. Fate. I mean, he doesn't know who he is, but just being instantaneously, like, teleported to some random dimension, and there's a tower floating there. That's, you know, the swamp monster's one thing, and then Zatanna, and the little magic tricks, and the little stuff like that. Because, you know, Batman's dealt with poison ivy and stuff like that. But then, like, instantaneously being teleported and, like, having no idea where you are, at that point, Batman's like, okay.
Yeah.
You guys, you go crazy.
Yeah.
Right? So Constantine and Zatanna are like looking for these other magical powered people, because Swamp Thing's like, no, I don't care, right?
Yeah.
So then Constantine's like, I know of one guy, he may or may not help. It's, you know, magic is, it's a fickle thing. Like, these people who are magic users, like, may or may not want to help. It's debatable. So they go to like the circus, and Deadman is there, right? He's in the crowd, and he's like, they can see his spectral body, but he's just like some fat guy eating popcorn, but they see him as like Deadman, like sitting in his lap, you know, making him eat popcorn or whatever. He's watching the trapeze artist, right? And then Deadman like senses something. He looks over and he sees Constantine, of all people, and Zatanna, and he's like, I know exactly where this is going. So he runs away, and the way he runs away is by like hopping from person to person, right? And it's sort of like,
because he can possess anyone.
Yes. So he it's like that movie that you were
Fallen with Denzel Washington.
Fallen, where like the demon is going
like
from,
the demon will touch someone and then transfer to that person.
Sorry.
That's what it's like.
Yes. So he's like hopping from person to person, and it's like that scene in Casino Royale with the parkour guy, where it's like so frustrating. They're trying to get him, and they're like, Constantine is just like throwing like hellfire all over the place and blowing stuff up, and Zatanna's like, stop, like, geez, like, these people don't have anything to do with this. Yeah, and Constantine does not care. He's totally frustrated by Deadman's acrobatic parkour, like, body transfer stuff.
Hardcore parkour!
Yeah, so he's, like, flipping all over the place and flying around, and Constantine's just, like, knocking over hot dog carts with, like, these spells and magics going everywhere, and people are
You can make it funny where, like, he transfers into the next like person, and it's like this big fat guy. So he's
he can't see. Like, he tries to go through a wall, but he doesn't know who's on the other side. And it's like this huge fat guy, and he's just like, oh god,
trying to run as this giant guy. Yeah.
Or like he goes through a wall, and it's actually a bathroom, and someone's like running out of the bathroom with their pants around their ankles, and he's like, crap, and then he transfers out before they fall down. And then, so, Zatanna sets a trap for him. They trap him and they pin him down. And he's like, all right, so, what's the big deal, doll? You know, like, the total dead man. Like, so they convince him to be a part of the team. He's totally down with it, right? And they're super frustrated with him. Mm-hmm. And then, what else? Oh, okay. So they're like, what did I say yesterday? God, I'm trying so hard to remember. Okay, I remember. Wait, I got it. So they're like, we need to find the source of this magic. Now, I mean, at least the three of us can do some stuff, right? Yeah. We got, like, Constantine, Zatanna, we got Deadman, okay. So Constantine has idea, and Constantine gets together with Deadman, and they're like, we need to find the source of this. And Deadman's like, I know where this is coming from. This is like demon magic. Yeah. This isn't like people, like Merlin the wizard magic. This is like people. This is like demon magic. And so he's like, I need to go to hell. I need to figure out who has agents on Earth that are doing this, because this is not from Earth. Yeah. And they're like, okay. So Deadman goes to hell, right? And he's like walking around hell, and the demons are like, get out of here.
Walking past like, people being tortured. He's like, hey guys, what's up?
Yeah, and the demons hate Deadman because he's not technically dead. So he can go wherever he wants, heaven, hell, wherever. And they can't do anything about it because he's not dead, because his powers is just like, you know, he's just some floaty ghost. He's like a grown-up version of Casper, basically. Yeah. And so
one of those ghosts at Hogwarts that just hangs around.
Yeah, like, people. Nearly headless Nick, and he's just like, ooh, yeah, that's Deadman. Yeah, basically. Anyway,
just this obnoxious, like thing that just floats around.
Yes, basically. So he's like floating around hell, and he's like, he goes to each of the 7 deadly sins, right? And they have like it's like almost like a big boss in a video game or something like that, and they have their lieutenants and everything like that. So he's talking to each of the 7 deadly sins about where this magic came from, and he gets to the 7th.
Who plays each of them?
I don't remember. Well, come on, you're derailing my plot here.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so he goes to each of the 7 deadly sins, and then when he gets to anger, Anger's like, listen, you don't need to be here. You're not dead. You haven't been assigned to hell. Like, you're not, like, in the rule books, you're not assigned as dead, okay? So you don't belong here. Get out. And so he sends his lieutenant to, like, escort him out of hell and make sure he doesn't come back. And his lieutenant is Etrigan, right? Mm-hmm. So Etrigan's, like, taking him out, and Deadman's like, sorry about this, pal. And then, like, takes Etrigan with him back to the land of the living. And then, so it's, like, New York City, and it's just, like, like, the normal, you know, typical, like, New York City shot. And then all of a sudden, there's just, like, this huge eruption of hellfire in this big crater in the middle of New York City. And Etrigan is there. There's, like, people in minivans, like, like it's he's freaking out. He's like spewing hellfire all over the place, and then Zatanna and Constantine show up, and they like restrain him, and then he's like, well, I mean, I give up. Like, I'm not in hell anymore. Like, I'm already breaking the rules, so I'm already gonna be like cast into like the negative zone for doing this, so I might as well help you guys. It's like the lesser of two evils, because he's a demon. He's not good, but all the demons are going to try and come and kill him now because he's in the land of the living without being there on assignment. So he like, it's like he abandoned his post, right? Yeah. So they're like, we need to assign you a person, right? Or else these people are just going to keep coming for you, because you're obviously this big demon, like, walking around, like, in the land of the living. So we're going to assign you a human body to be, like, tethered to. So it's sort of like this parallel thing where you have the human person up here, and then Etrigan is here, right? So they find Jason Blood, and he's sort of, in my version, he's like this like modern American like college kid,
hipster kid.
Traditionally, he's like some Arthurian like super duper Shakespearean like guy, and then Etrigan the Demon's like fart butthole, like, you know what I mean? He speaks in rhyme, but he's like this really brutal like Hulk smash character. And then Jason Blood is typically supposed to be like Benedict Cumberbatch in Sherlock, right?
Yeah.
But in my version, I want it to be Michael Cera. So they like find, and he's like some completely random guy. They're like, all right, well,
this guy at Starbucks or whatever,
some random guy in a cafe, and they're like, all right, that guy'll do. So they do the little tethering spell, and he's like teleported into like this basement, and Etrigan is there, and he's just like, ah! And then Etrigan's like he'll do, like, this is fine. I mean, he looks okay, like it's it might as well be him, right?
Yeah.
So then they have their team, right? And oh god, where did I go from there? I just had a brain fart.
That's it.
Oh, I remember. Okay, I remember. So they are talking about all this different stuff, all this different magic that could have possibly taken down Superman, and Etrigan's like, I know exactly where this is coming from. This is one of the spells that is learned from the people in the family of so-and-so that is Trigon's family. And Trigon is Raven's father, who's like this demon overlord of hell, right? So they're like in shock because Trigon is a name like you don't even say, like you don't even want to think.
Like Voldemort.
Yes, like you don't even want to think of having to face Trigon because he's like a universal power. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's almost like so they're like, please no, this is such a bad idea. And so everyone is basically on board except for Zatanna, and she tells Batman, like, this is what we're going to do. We're probably all going to die, so I'm just letting you know in case that happens. Yeah. We're responsible, okay? So what they do is Etrigan knows Trigon's daughter, where she is, because she's half demon, half human. So does Constantine. So they go off and they send Jason Blood instead of Etrigan, and he's like, hey, blah blah blah, he's talking to this random girl, and then they like knock her out with a spell and kidnap her, and she's just, I wanted her to be played by the creepy girl from Stranger Things. You know what I mean? What is her name?
11.
No, not the character's name.
With the creepy
11,
but the girl that plays 11.
Yes, the girl that plays 11, and she's like, my father's like really powerful, like you're gonna be in a lot of trouble. Yeah. And they're like, good, yes, we're hoping that this will happen. So Etrigan goes down there, and the 7 deadly sins are there, and everyone's there, and he's like, well, I've got some news, like Trigon's daughter has been kidnapped, and then there's like this huge rumble, and then Trigon is like almost like an Attack on Titan, where he's just this giant like enormous figure pops up, and then they escape from hell, and it's like this big chase scene thing, and Trigon erupts in New York, and then they're basically battling Trigon, and then Trigon's done. Like they beat Trigon with help of like Deadman and the Spectre, or maybe Ragman or whatever, and then there's sort of like this twist where it wasn't really Trigon, it was someone who is leading like a cult following of like these demon lords, and you have to find out like who these cultists are and stuff like that, and it ties into like Ra's al Ghul and stuff like that. So it basically is setting up the sequel, but with like a boss battle, a big bad at the end. That's not really, it's sort of like Age of Ultron, where Ultron dies, but he wasn't really the point, because you have Infinity Gauntlet off in the distance, you know what I mean? So
yeah, I like it.
That's my plot. It's long and convoluted.
His is more in depth than mine, for sure. but I love that. I especially the possession sequence at the circus. Yes, is really really cool.
It's already written up. I've already pitched it to Miramax.
He's exactly. Yeah. We're just waiting on a response.
Yeah, we're waiting on a response.
Give us a call.
We're just telling you guys first before we get a yes.
Yeah. But yeah, those are our pitches for Justice League Dark in light of Doug Liman being hired to direct the movie. I am not holding out I have a slimmer of hope because these are such great characters, but it's DC that's handling it, and we're not DC haters. I love the DC comics.
They haven't done the best job with
DC
movies.
movie universe isn't good. Like, it's just not good right now.
No.
And I just really hope they can do these characters justice. If you have an idea for a Justice League Dark movie, let us know in the comments section.
Leave us your cast in the comments section.
Yeah, leave us your cast in the comments section. We'd love to see what all of you think. And be sure to subscribe to Mike's channel, which is MrDangerMoss. He does video game stuff. He posts a video every day. You can tell him about
Post a video every single day, and I stream every day either from 3:30 to 5 or 5 to 7. Follow me on Twitter. Again, MrDangerMoss, all one word. And that's how you will know when I'm going to be streaming or if I'm not going to be streaming. All of my updates are on Twitter and Facebook. And again, all of my social media accounts are all the same thing. It's MrDangerMoss.
Yep. So and be sure to subscribe to this channel and follow us on all of our social media accounts. Until next time, I'm Jordan Ross.
I'm Michael Moss.
See ya.